First of all, we have Kevin Limke, the park president. And we have Rob McNicholas from the operations team.
Again, my name's Kevin. I'm the park president for Busch Gardens and Water Country USA. And I just want to say welcome. I've spoken to at least some of this group a few times and starting to get to know some faces from these events, which is great. You know, it's an exciting time right now for both parks. We just debuted our new attraction in Ireland, Finnegan's Flyer. So if anyone has gotten a chance to ride it, anybody yet get over there? I think it's the best flat ride in the park. I really enjoy it. Smooth ride, high thrill. So if you haven't had a chance, check that out. In full disclosure, we're only running one arm at the moment, so the line might take a little bit longer, but working through a compressor issue, which is, you know, all sorts of fun on a Saturday. But, and then we debuted Cutback Water Coaster over at Water Country. So really the first hybrid water coaster of its kind on the East Coast. And I know we had some ace folks out here for the debut last weekend. Really well received. Great ride. I think Elizabeth and others who were there for media day and others would agree that quite an addition to the Williamsburg area. So if you hadn't had a chance, get over to Water Country. Water coaster open now. So a lot happening, a lot of new stuff, you know, on the way. You've probably seen a lot of the rumors out there, so I don't need to fill you in too much on that. Can't keep anything a secret these days. But just a lot of things. What I will say, just in general, a lot of things happening across our parks. There was actually a post this morning that hinted at SeaWorld Orlando's new coaster for 2020. We did tease our coaster for 2020. And if you ride the train today or go over the Festa Bridge, you can already see some clearing and site work happening. So we are underway. Haven't officially broken ground. We haven't started, you know, driving piles or anything of that nature, but that's not too far off. We're in the next couple of weeks here. So look for something, you know, more detailed about, you know, all the fun stuff that everyone wants to know, the video, the logo, the name, all that good stuff. You know, we're probably 6 weeks out, four to 6 weeks out from sharing a lot of awesome details. And it's not just hype. I couldn't be more excited where that's going creatively, and so be thrilled to share that with you. So. Other than that, you know, I just want to say welcome. I want you to have a fantastic day. Anything that our leadership team can do to make the day better. Rob is here as well as we get into Q&A. Rob is our resident ride expert. So any burning questions on how the rides run here or anything in general, Rob knows as much about, you know, the system as I do. So just want to take some questions and answer anything we can for you.
All right. So the one thing I noticed, I'm pretty much East Coast. I've never been in Central United States or West for any of the other parks. But one thing I notice here, especially when I go back home, is I talk about how aesthetically pleasing this area is. Not only the plants or anything like that, but like the festivals that you go to and you experience around different seasons. My question to you is, what makes you think, you know what, we've already got this amazingly aesthetic place set up for our guests. Let's go to the next step. Let's go to the next level and make something even better. What makes you get to that point and build something inside of the park that expands on what you already have?
Yeah, no, great question. I agree with you. You know, we are the world's most beautiful theme park for 28 years in a row. That's no small feat, and a tremendously hardworking team that makes that happen. But the reality is we're still in the industry of having to give people new things. So as much as the park itself is a fantastic destination, certainly if you're coming here for the first time, right, everything's new. But the reality is we have a huge percentage of guests that are here frequently. And that's where you really have to come up with new and innovative ways to keep them coming back. Or they come back, but you want to increase that frequency, give them another reason to come out. So that is really where a lot of the festival strategy comes from. if you've been here for Christmas Town, no question one of the best, holiday events in the country. It's Busch Gardens in a totally different way, and that increases our visitation because you want to see something different. So it really is bringing something new and being innovative. We're in a industry that it's what's next. Who's doing the next biggest and tallest, and we're part of that as well. As great as the product is today, we do have to keep pushing, and that's where that motivation comes from. Yes.
Is there any particular reason why you guys are starting to make large investments in the parks now?
We publicly have shared as a company that we are going to invest in attractions at every park, or at least every region, every park every year. And that is not where we've been the last few years, so that is a change. I think it really goes to what I spoke to before, is that's what really drives that kind of incremental attendance. This park's been around for 45 years. Tampa's been around for 60. And, again, it's about that what's new, and we strongly believe that that's in attractions right now. Not to say we won't do new shows. We actually debuted a brand new show over in the Italy Theater. If you get a chance, that just debuted yesterday. So not that we won't still do stuff like that, but pretty clear right now our company is focused on specifically attractions, and that's where you're seeing all these rollouts. 2020 will be a huge year for the company, even bigger than what 2019 was as far as the number of rides that will open. Lost my power, temporary power outage. Yes, and Food and Wine is one that might be a little bit overlooked just because Howl-O-Scream and Christmas are so massive for us, but I agree with you. It's such a unique element to our park. It fits so well with the countries, and our culinary team just does a fantastic job. So, yeah, and here's the reality. As much as we talk about attractions, there's a lot of folks that don't ride the rides. I know to this group that sounds crazy, but they want to see the shows. They love Food and Wine. Come out for fireworks in the summer, things of that nature. So we can't forget about that demographic as well. Are we back? No. Back.
Got a rides question.
Oh, there we go. We're back.
All right, the train's all behind it. Are you operating one or two trains today? And is the one that had an accident that been back in operation?
So we're running 2 trains today. Got the red one going by now, and the green one. The blue one is coming back. We are putting the finishing touches on the blue train and started testing. So same as we ever do, annual maintenance. We got about 24 hours of runtime on those attractions. So the same thing we do with the blue train, but it's coming back.
Yep. If you ride Invader today, or you probably already did ride Invader, as you're going up the lift hill, just kind of look over to the right, and you'll see a nice shiny blue train sitting there that has been essentially completely refurbished, and will be back very soon. So we're excited about that. Yes, ma'am.
So what can you share with us about 2020?
I can share. So I can't. I'm not going to share anything creatively, because that's the stuff that I can truly say is still a secret, which is nice. That will be a reveal. But we filed plans with the county. A lot of it's online, so I'm not gonna be coy about things. You're seeing a lot of it out there. It's going to be a fantastic ride. I mean, there's no doubt. I'll put it up there with some of our best coasters. This is a major investment for us. World-class coaster. Many elements that you just have not seen before. Certainly, you have not seen in the United States. So pretty exciting, and can't wait to get into it. But yes.
Is it going to be attached to Italy or Piscataya?
What have you seen?
It looks like on that side.
So I will say it's actually already on our large maps as you walk around, and we kind of shared it already. But you'll actually enter through the Festa area.
Oh.
Yeah.
Can you tell us the manufacturer?
It's out there. Yeah, it's out there. I think people have figured that out. Yes.
Could you maybe give us a hint about the theme of the new coaster?
I can't. Well, here's what I'll say is it's in the Fest area, so you can probably guess it's something Italian related. And we showed the columns when we did the MMXX. So again, you know, when you think about Italy and Roman and whatnot. So I know that's probably obvious already, but yeah, excited about the name and theme. Pretty cool stuff. That I'm not going to share with you. Yeah.
Clear.
It will not be a color that of a coaster that already exists today in our park. So it'll be something brand new. Yes.
Are you targeting to continue the trend of earlier than later openings rather than that Memorial Day target with the new ride next year? Or
Yeah, that is absolutely a larger goal for us. You know, it's great to open Finnegan's at the end of April. You know, I think you know, long term, we want to debut rides, you know, with the park opening. Sometimes that's not feasible depending on where it's built and what impact it has on the park operation. So, you know, we won't get into, you know, opening date for a while, but I'll say we're going to push, you know, as quickly as we can to have it open as early as possible. Yeah. And then certainly that same philosophy going forward. Yeah. Just another hand. Yes.
Will you be naming the coaster, or will you be putting it up for a vote, like you did with Invader?
Oh, good question. Good question. No, there won't be a vote. Yeah. There won't be a vote. Which we did actually talk about it. Sometimes the vote thing works really well, but sometimes the vote thing, depending on when we have to announce the ride, and then we got to get the vote going, and then marketing's like, well, but how are we going to announce it if we don't have a name yet? And they want to start working on logos and colors, and there's a lot of things to juggle with it. So there's times where it makes sense, but this time when we debut it, the name will already be there. Yeah. All right. Anybody? Yes.
All right. Different topic.
Yes.
For Bolton, the effects in the building have, you know, the lights have changed. Maybe they're not on as much. And when we rode it today, the sound wasn't on at all anywhere on the ride, except for in the station. Is that an issue that you guys are working on? Can you kind of elaborate what's going on there?
Well, I was the opening park duty manager, so I guess I didn't do my checklist. It should be working.
Okay, because all the sounds inside the building and on the bridge and such were not on when we rode it.
Okay, I didn't know, so we'll
Yeah.
go.
No, yeah, I mean, you know, with a lot of attractions, not to say things, you know, don't change over time. They do in some cases, and some things make a lot of sense to invest back in, but some things, when they get to the end of their useful life, it doesn't. So it just depends. What I will say about the lighting and the music, though, and the noise, that should be on. So that was an anomaly today that we will check out. Yeah. Yes.
Thank you for keeping the Loch Ness Monster. I love that picture so much.
Now we've yes, that's obviously an iconic ride and important to us, and we've made some investments, new trains obviously last year, which is a big investment. So we're committed to keeping that going. Yes. Well, it was the chassis. It was mostly new fiberglass, so a lot of the chassis remained the same. What happened to the old fiberglass? I honestly don't know the answer to that. I could find out, but I actually don't know. Oftentimes we send things to recycling if they're not usable. You know, people have asked us before, can you auction old ride pieces off? In a lot of cases, we can't legally. So, yeah, I'm not sure. I'll find out though. They might be in a graveyard somewhere. We still have a big bad wolf car in a graveyard somewhere. Yeah.
Where is it?
Too soon. Come on, it's been 9 years. What? life moves on. But you're right. No disrespect to Big Bad Wolf, but for Bolton's pretty cool too.
On a happy note, happy birthday to Apollo. 20.
Yes. Also a ride we're of course committed to 20 years. It's no small feat to paint that ride, and as you can imagine, but as you've probably already seen from going over there, a significant portion is painted. Some of it is not, and the remainder will be painted post Labor Day. Yes.
Just curious, with your Hollow Stream and your Christmas stuff, how much of an off season do you really have?
We don't. I think Rob can attest to that. They're people ask, so when do you take off? When's your slow time? What's crazy, in some situations, the middle of the summer, in some cases, is a quieter time sometimes for leadership because things are just kind of humming. They're going. We're not setting up for an event. We're not taking an event down. We're not in a major hiring blitz. January and February are crazy months. I mean, it's especially for our HR team. Dismantling Christmas takes us well into February, in some cases March. So, yeah, there was a time, well before my time, where in Williamsburg, once Halloween was done, people pretty much, not literally, but in some cases literally, hung it up until January 1. They took most of November and December off. Those days are long gone. I can assure you that November and December are some of the craziest months we have. So yeah, very, very low off season to say the least. Yes.
During the Christmas town involved,
Yeah.
most of the rides aren't open, so you have to keep rides open. Seems like it makes the park more crowded. You have like more rides open.
Yeah.
People be waiting in the queues instead of
Yeah. So, yep, we've definitely looked at that. So there's a lot of, I won't get into all the details that go into it, but you got to remember, first and foremost, you're paying probably half the price, for the park. So, it's not the same product. So if we, in theory, if we offered Christmas Town and all the rides, then we would run the same model as we do today. It'd be $90 front gate and whatnot, which is certainly something we could look at. But what you got to remember as well is weather does play a pretty important factor, especially on the coasters. So you could also get into a situation where you have all the coasters in theory open, you're marketing it that way, and then you show up and none of them can run because it's 35 degrees outside. So it's a very tricky balance, but I will say we are looking at expanding the offerings on the ride side for Christmas, and that could be something that you see even as early as this season. Yeah. Yes.
How do you choose the rides?
So all the flat rides are open. As far as the coasters go, it really does come down to that weather component. Some coasters do better than others. So we try to focus on the ones that just fare better in the colder weather. There are some other options, again, that we are looking at that we may add over time, but yeah, a lot of it is weather dependent. And then in some cases, if you've been to Christmas Town, we take over certain areas with Christmas product, and Apollo's Chariot, the entire front entry is taken over with the Rudolph experience. So how do you work around that? And so there's just a lot of things to work through. Yes.
I know a couple years back, it's something where you had guys the first
Yeah, I would say Alpengeist is probably one of those on the list of if we move in that direction of expansion. Alpengeist would be one we would look at because, to your point, it has already operated during Christmas Town before, so that would be kind of an obvious one to take a look at. Yeah. Yes.
When you look at purchasing new rides and what you're going to install, do you take into account you'd like to operate it during Christmas Town, and does that play into the decision if it's able to operate in colder weather?
Honestly, I mean, it is an interesting kind of thought, but it's actually not one we put a lot of thought into. Yeah, I mean, if it works out that way, it's great, but ultimately, it really is kind of the ride itself and the marketability and what we already have, what's the demographic that really is the decision maker. But Christmas and others, it would kind of be a secondary consideration. But
and just to add to that, I don't know really any coasters out there that operate below the 35, 40 degree threshold. So
they're all
coaster
pretty similar.
Yeah, the same boat.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So the question was about pin trading. You know, it's obviously not a new concept. You know, with Disney, Universal. I like to point out though that it wasn't Disney's idea either. So oftentimes people like to say like, oh, you're just copying Disney. Well, they copied somebody else too. So it technically started at the Olympics. If you ever want to read up on pin trading, which you probably don't, but it actually started with the Olympics, and then Disney kind of replicated some of their best practices and did obviously a fantastic job with it. You know, it's just a great way for engagement. I've talked to more guests since the pin trading thing started. Not that I didn't talk to a lot of guests before, but I think I talk to more now because they know that I have a pin that they can only get from me, and then you know they want to trade. So it's just a great guest engagement thing, and that's what the feedback has been. Is people love to just meet the employees, meet other guests. So it really is a great engagement tool.
The downside to pin trading is I'm not wearing mine today, I'm a bad example, but multiple times I've been going to a ride shutdown that I need to get to, and I guess, can I see your pins? Yes, but so it always happens, just my luck, I think.
Yes, ma'am.
How do you decide which companies you go with to design your roller coasters here?
We have used kind of a go-to attraction designer based in St. Louis for years and years. So that really was born out of the Anheuser-Busch days many moons ago. So we still use that firm. But what's been a great story about Williamsburg is we've actually used some local design firms. If anyone's from Williamsburg, there's folks right in Newtown, and then there's some folks really right across the street from the park that they're not ride designers per se, but there's so much design work that goes into, as you would imagine, outside of what the ride is. So
I guess I really meant the architecture.
Of the ride design. So a lot of things go into it. One interesting point of how we decide that, some manufacturers aren't available. Sometimes you call them up and say, hey, we're thinking about a coaster for 2020, and they say, you know what, I actually don't have any production space for 2020 because we already committed 4 rides to China and 2 rides to Six Flags or whatnot. So some of it's availability. Some of it is certainly reliability. We want to work with reputable manufacturers that we know have proven themselves before. But in some cases, we're also willing to, kind of push into new areas. Verbolten was a new coaster manufacturer that we had never worked with before. S&S for our Finnegan's Flyer, we had never worked with them before, but they did have a good reputation in the industry. So that's a big part of it too. So there's got to be a rapport. Our head of rides for the company is tremendously well connected and well versed in the industry, so he kind of knows the main players and plays probably the biggest role in kind of we have multiple people that I would put in that category. So a lot of different things go into it, but it's just interesting that sometimes it's availability. Sometimes, hey, we want to buy a coaster from you, and they say, sorry, we can't make it happen that year, which does happen sometimes, especially if you're late in the game and not planning too far ahead. Yes.
Our castle being removed, did you guys say like you have any plans for the future of that area?
Yeah, good question. Question was about Dark Castle. We use that building now heavily during special event time for both Howl-O-Scream and Christmas. I would say generally speaking, we're not putting a lot of effort into what could go there, but that I think will come on the radar again sometime in the future. But at the moment, we're focused on some other areas. But it is critically important to us from a special event standpoint. All right. Any other? Yes. Yeah. Question about an indoor ride. Yeah. I think when we look at new attractions, pretty much everything's on the table. I think there's a focus as you see with all these coaster announcements and other things. High thrill steel attractions is where obviously our focus has been, but things come and go, and there's a lot of great dark rides being open, and I know Hershey just opened theirs last weekend, and so it's possible in the future, but our upcoming announcement, as you already know, is not an indoor ride.
So, what were other considerations
The question was, what else did we look at besides the S&S swing? I probably can't get into the specifics, but other kind of major flat rides, we were in that mode of looking at, if you want to call it a medium-sized attraction. So some of the ones you're probably familiar with and other competitors. We probably went through 7 or 8 different concepts, but the swing just has such a good reputation as just such a solid ride. And then what I love about ours is, you can ride a swing somewhere else, but probably not in a setting where we put it, where you're swinging out over the water, and then just the beauty of the surroundings. That's what it truly makes ours different than the ones you see in other places. Yes?
I think we're all still mourning the loss of Volcano at King Dominion.
Right.
Due to downtime and maintenance problems. Are you able to tell us which rides possibly we should be afraid?
Yeah.
We know a lot of the time.
Right. No, I mean nothing in particular, but there is a reality to rides reaching the end of their useful life, and rebuilding them doesn't make sense, financially or for other reasons. I'll give you a good example of where we've made commitments, though. You take Le Scoot, which is our flume ride. Goes back to the 70s, right? I mean, this is an original ride. We essentially rebuilt that entire ride from maybe 14 to 16 or 13 to 15. It was over a couple of seasons, and we did it in phases. So that entire basin, every piece of that track, new boats, the house wasn't rebuilt up there, and the Q station essentially is the same, but essentially that's a brand new ride. So there are times where that does make sense, and we say we have to make the investment, but then there are times where it doesn't. But there's nothing on the horizon, knock on wood, that I'm aware of from a major situation like that. But yeah, those are not easy decisions, and I don't know the KD situation, but I can just tell from knowing what we deal with on a day-to-day basis and how important key attractions are. That is a very, very tough decision to get to, and that's unfortunate. All right. Yes, sir. One more.
Elaborate on the interaction between you and the home office where the corporate funding comes from. Do you initiate and say, we think we could do better with a particular ride attraction, or do they come back and tell you that based on your sales and so forth, you can get an attraction for this particular price range? How does the interaction between you and the home office work?
Yeah, no, good question. Our planning process, I would say it's very collaborative. The park has a tremendous amount of input. Certainly, the attractions that we get, we absolutely have input, and then creatively we have probably the most input. There is there's a long-term plan that the capital is divided up amongst the parks, and You know, that's pretty corporately driven, which I don't think is unusual for most park chains. But once that's identified that, hey, there's an attraction in this year, yeah, the park is kind of integral to how that happens, and we have a great working relationship with our rides folks in Orlando, and it's a very, very collaborative process. So they do drive a lot of it, but as far as kind of where we go with things, the park is heavily involved, which is great. All right, great questions. Just see us in the park, stop, say hello. Happy to answer anything, and just have a great time more than anything. Open until 10 tonight, and should be a great day. So thank you.